BAAADDDD Media.
So damn thrilling, so damn electric. Wow, what a weekend of playoff football. We're going to break it all down. Before we do, if you are new to the channel, make sure you smash that subscribe button, hit that thumbs up button as well. I greatly appreciate all of your support. I love you so much. If you're looking to buy tickets to go to any event, NHL, NBA, MLB, whenever that comes around. I don't know why I said MLB. NFL, if you're lucky enough for your team to still be involved. Promo code BROADS at SeatGeek's checkout page gets you $20 off. So those fees you get hit with when you think it's $50, it ends up being $70. Don't worry, I'll cover it for you. Promo code BROADS. Get yourself to a game today. Lastly, TikTok, BROADDDD Media. We're incorporating some fun things over there. With that being said, enjoy the show. What is going on, everyone? Welcome on into Sports Talk with BROADDDD. Did that weekend really happen? Seriously, was that a dream? Because it was sensational. The product, all 2 days, all 4 games. It was absurd. I didn't even know what the hell I was watching, but it was so much damn fun. Oh my God, how do you match that? How do you bring that intensity back next weekend in the championship games? It doesn't make any sense. 13 seconds left on the clock. Pat Mahomes hits Travis Kelce. Hell, Andy Reid had 3 timeouts. In what world does Andy Reid do well with time management? It's almost as if, with experience in this league, people actually do improve their jobs. And more on that as we dissect what this means for the Eagles, what this means for Jalen Hurts, what this means for Josh Allen and everybody else involved. Because there's so many different storylines based off these outcomes. I honestly don't even know where to begin, but I just think organically to dissect that awesome play. You know, it's so hard to fathom what we witnessed with Ryan Tannehill throwing interceptions early and late. Joe Burrow getting sacked every single damn snap, it felt like. And here he is, cool and calm late, where he makes the throw towards the right sidelines perfectly as soon as he gets a golden chance. Here's the kicker, the big testicles on this guy, delivering in such a crucial moment, all the swag in the world. Do you know how hard it is to be a kicker with some actual pizzazz? You know, like a personality on a kicker? Other than Justin Tucker, there's no such thing. And speaking of kickers, when Tom Brady's making an electric comeback down 27-3, there's a 47-yard field goal that's short. It's short in weather where it should not be whatsoever. What the hell was that? Sean McVay coaching to lose. The fear that you have when Tom Brady's on the other side definitely plays a role, but he coached like a little softy out there. Fumblings happen left and right, going to Akers, problematic. Snaps going over Matthew Stafford's head, but as soon as Matthew Stafford needed to deliver a throw in the biggest moment of his entire career, when Todd Bowles brings the pressure, he hits Cooper Kupp. Oh, what was Todd Bowles thinking? I have no idea in that scenario how you dial that up. You gotta be smarter. You gotta be better than that. Todd Bowles is too smart to just let that ruin that unreal comeback by Tom Brady. I can't believe it. And if you haven't realized, I've said I can't believe it maybe 6,000 times already, at least some sort of variation of that, because that's where my mind was as I was sitting on my couch with the biggest smile in the world, just witnessing what sports are all about. You know, there were idiots out there, and there were morons that claimed, I'm never watching football again. Oh, yeah, guess what? You're watching. You're watching. And if you're not, you're a fool, because this is amazing. The numbers tell you that there's billions of people out there watching those performances, as you should. What game haven't I mentioned yet? Oh, the Aaron Rodgers. Oh, man. I mean, special teams, problematic. Can't even get the right amount of people on the field. You're at home, and he comes up short once again. He sucked. He sucked in that game, and he sucked. You know, you have a chance after you go up nice and early to keep your foot on the gas. Jimmy Garoppolo didn't have a good day at the office, so it's not as if the quarterback back on the other side was torching your ass and you just couldn't keep up the pace. For example, and this is obviously a little bit different than that, but when you're Josh Allen, you don't look yourself in the mirror upset with your play. You did everything you possibly could, and it was toe-to-toe. Unbelievable. Best athletes we'll see in this sport for years to come, and it's just one team got the ball at the end because of the overtime rules, and that's all you could do about it. I did not like the way that the Bills elected to play defensively afterwards. I don't like it whatsoever. You could argue about the squib kick, although I will admit that there are people out there that assume that just because you squib kick it, that automatically rules out the possibility of Kansas City winning that football game, and that is not true whatsoever. There's a lot of issues that can occur. There's a lot of things that can happen where the clock doesn't move the way that you would like to. There's also threats and playmakers that are on the other side that can wax that ass if they do get the football and take it to the house. There's a lot of variables. Now, if I'm playing my percentages, yeah, I probably still would have squib kicked it, but I will say it's not as easy as the rest of the NFL world is making it out to be, as they kick the ball out and then allow them to kind of get 2 plays off of it. Insane. Jimmy Garoppolo was poor, but their defense was keeping them in it. So it was just one of those days that you sit back and you admire it. 2 days, full 2 days, you sit back and admire everything you saw. And then the week before, you get the wild card games. Some of these teams just got exposed and no reason for them to be there and somewhat boring. Well, the football gods gave us some life and gave us some juice. It just comes down to how do you build off of that? Because it was filled with electricity here in the Kansas City building or the stadium going bonkers, losing their damn mind. And real quickly on the overtime period, I'm indifferent, to be honest with you. I know there's a lot of passion towards what should be done. And if they do make it where both teams get the football, I'm not going to complain about it. I don't have an issue with that whatsoever. And sure, I get it. Logically, it makes sense. If you look at all the other sports, teams get a chance to go out there and play. But, to be fair, you had the lead with 13 seconds left, and you failed. You had the best defense out there against Pat Mahomes in overtime, and you failed. So I'm not going to bitch and complain and say that ruined my viewing experience, because with or without any changes to the overtime, I'm like, this is incredible! This is amazing! So regardless, my viewing experience was exactly the same. If they study the numbers and see that in the playoffs, these teams that win the coin toss and they go down and score with ease is something that they are uncomfortable with as a league and recognize that it's doing the other team a disservice, then fine. Have at it. Study that. Go back to the tape. Go back to the film. Go back to the numbers and come up with the concept that you feel makes more sense and will impact this game better. But as for me, I'm indifferent. Keep it the same. Okay. Change it. Okay. We'll move on to the next game, and that's how I feel. The Chiefs got boned a few years back with Tom Brady, and it opens up the door for a discussion every single time it happens. My point is, you get the benefit of it sometimes, and then you get the miserable portion of it sometimes. That's just the way the game is right now. And yeah, everything is due for dialogue. Everything is due for conversation. I'm willing to sit down and weigh out the pros and the cons and talk about this more. I got it. It's unfair. There's no one who could say it's fair, but it's the rules. And within the rules, the Bills had a clear opportunity to win that game, and they let it slip. I saw all these tweets out there saying, well, the Bills technically didn't lose. The Chiefs just won the... No, the Bills had the lead with 13 seconds left. You got Gabriel Davis breaking ankles. You got Diggs in the back of the end zone getting a 2-point conversion, which was epic considering what you saw all pregame long, which is Diggs and that picture, that iconic picture, that moment that he will never forget of seeing the pain just a year ago and then being in that same moment, being in that same spot on the same field and having a chance and gets the 2-point conversion, which was massive, by the way. That's the difference of it even going to overtime or the game ending in regulation with that field goal. But wild, absolutely wild. I am heartbroken for Josh Allen, who was sitting on the sidelines after that touchdown. You could feel his his passion and excitement to think about taking that helmet off and running around that field, huddling with his teammates and having all those conferences and those media availability stuff on the field, the press conferences afterwards, and it was just taken right from him. And those guys, we're talking about the next Tom Brady. We're talking about the next Aaron Rodgers. We're talking about the elite of the elite of the elite of the elite going up against one another for years to come, really. And sign me up, because these guys should be playing a best of 5 at this point. They should line it up again today just to see what the hell happens. Off to the side. Screw the NFL. Let's just go play at a local park. Get some TV. Set this bad boy up. Sort of pull a Jake Paul, if you will, where you just start your own thing. You kidding me? The masses that would be there, the amount of people, the amount of money. Oh, we'd be there in a damn heartbeat. That was unreal. It really was. So all around, I mean, it was fantastic, and it ties together with what does this mean for the Philadelphia Eagles, because naturally we now think about, can my quarterback do that? Can Jalen Hurts pull off that type of debauchery? Why do I always fuck up that word? Debauchery? Is it even a word? I have no idea. But can he pull off that wizardry and will you to victories late in the games? And to be honest with you, no, I don't think so. And I will admit that I'm okay with going out and finding one of those guys. Here's my pushback. I do feel that people believe it's way easier to do than it actually is. If you're telling me I can sign a piece of paper to get Josh Allen here, Pat Mahomes here, any of these elite, Joe Burrow, Justin Herberts, I'm right here waiting for it. I'll upgrade Jalen Hurts right now today if that's the case. I'm not tied to Jalen Hurts forever. I also don't feel like it's horrendous if the worst case scenario, though, is you run it back while still improving your team all around. Trust me, you're talking about Howie Roseman and Jeffrey Lurie. You don't think they're making phone calls? You don't think with Russell Wilson possibly available that that's something that they're going to have interest in to see what it possibly can take, and if he's willing to come here and play in Philadelphia, of course, and if it takes something along the lines of 2 first-round draft picks and other pieces, you still have one. Like, let's say you can get it for 2 and maybe a 3, or 2 first-rounders, that is, and maybe a 3 or something along that lines, and you push that towards Seattle, you could still have 1 first-round pick as if it's a normal draft class. You just improve the quarterback position significantly. I don't see Jalen Hurts doing that. But to be fair, I didn't need to see that game being played to tell me that. Afterwards, we're now assessing that Jalen Hurts isn't Josh Allen? Are you kidding me? Obviously not. Now, I saw this reaction. Lots of reaction that I like reacting to. If I'm a general manager, seeing how important the quarterback position is, I'm going to try and get that guy year in and year out until I find that masterpiece. 1, you're going to be fired because that's a horrible way of doing business. And 2, you'd be the same fool to draft Josh Allen and then say, you know what, he's not the guy, because his first year he had a 52% completion percentage, and the second year he had a 58% completion percentage. So, with that said, you wouldn't give yourself enough time. You'd be running talent out of town nonstop, drafting more quarterbacks, thinking that Pat Mahomes just grows on trees without giving them the proper time to fully get invested into what the hell the National Football League is all about. So, I do believe deep down that Jalen Hurts will be better than he was this season. With that said, he's probably still going to have a cap. But what do these teams have on both sides of the ball? They have electric game changers and all sorts of Pro Bowls and all-team players on defense, on offense, all around, except for if you're Joe Burrow. But keep in mind, the Bengals went 31 years without winning a damn playoff game. Don't act as if the Cincinnati Bengals just have this thing easily on just a game plan and a blueprint and it can just do this year in and year out. No, they have been miserable, and it took forever to find this guy. And if your counter argument is, well, that's because they were stuck with mediocre quarterback play for so long, you're not wrong. Andy Dalton was something they stayed with, and there were years where he was winning 10-plus games, double-digit games, and you don't move on from that. But the Eagles would never fly with 6-9-1, 7-9, 5-6, and 2-11 in all these years towards the back end of Andy Dalton. So that would never be the case here, but I'm just putting it in perspective on how bad organizations are ran and how long it takes for some of these organizations to find themselves that piece, and just in general to find themselves legitimate insane talent. This is the elite of the elite of the elite of the elite. And if you can find these guys, sign me up right now. If you think Pickett could do it, if you think these quarterbacks can do it from Liberty or anywhere else, because we're looking at Wyoming and we're looking at North Dakota State. And keep in mind, Carson Wentz is a gunslinger, but he's not a good quarterback, and he's not good enough to legitimately pull off what these cats are doing left and right, and they're rolling to the right and throwing sidearm and finding pockets within the passing game that makes no sense whatsoever somehow, some way. But they have Travis Kelce, they have Tyreek Hill, they have Hardman, right? These guys, they have playmakers. They have players that can make plays defensively. Although Tyrann Mathieu ends up getting banged up, and he knew that that would make an impact throughout the game. But, all around, my point is, you can scream that you want to go find that guy because Jalen Hurts can't do it, and fine. If you don't think he can do it, fine. I think he'll improve better than where he is. Same with Tony Dungy, right? You think about Peyton Manning, where he was in his career with his first nod and his first attempt in postseason football, and how there's a lot more to it. Once again, the ceiling of Jalen Hurts is not that, in my opinion. But people were not saying the same thing about Peyton Manning at the time either, that it would be to, that extreme of what we saw. After that first insane blowout, people still felt that highly. No, there were a lot of questions about him, and then he answered the bell. Will Jalen Hurts answer the bell? I don't know. I don't know. My gut tells me no. But once again, here's my thing. If it's not there, you could say go get Russell Wilson, but there's players and another team that has to say yes to that. Deshaun Watson has to say yes to that. Plus, there's a bunch of drama happening off the field as well. So if it's not in the draft this year, if they don't believe deep down that it's in the draft, and if they can't trade for it, and your worst case scenario is, let's utilize those draft picks to either trade back into next year's draft while picking some game-changing players that we believe in the future of this franchise as well around the team, and we get one more year under Jalen Hurts. Well, it's not the worst situation in the world. There's an ESPN article up saying the quarterback position in Philadelphia, they're in purgatory. No, they're not. It's the first year of Jalen Hurts starting. They got 3 first-round draft picks. They got a boatload of money. There's so much involved here. The Eagles would never do that. That's just reality of the situation. Howie Roseman, Jeffrey Lloyd, they would never allow this team to be stuck in a spot of purgatory forever. They will get themselves out of it because they look at the quarterback position with such a crazy set of eyeballs that they would move the hell on and go in another direction to make sure they put themselves in a position to find that guy. So they're not really stuck. They might be in a stopgap spot right now, but we also have to remember that you can move around quickly in this league, right? There's no doubt about it. It's a year-to-year league. People think it's 5-6 years, but it takes 1 or 2 years, right? So you can definitely impact your team and become stronger in a quicker amount of time than you believe at the time of when it's just kind of average. With that said, this was a first-year head coach, a first-year DC, and one of the youngest coaching staffs in football, on top of a first-year starting quarterback to enter a season. You can't lose sight of that. So when you watch the Chiefs and you watch the Bills sucked forever. The Bills got their asses waxed nonstop in the AFC East for a long time. They were getting consistently embarrassed forever. They didn't just snap their fingers and automatically have this product of excellence and dominance. You can't forget what it took for Cincinnati to land a Joe Burrow. It takes time. It takes situations. And sometimes that draft just happens to be there for you when it was the year that you stunk the most. So there's luck involved as well when one of these quarterbacks end up leaving college football. There's so much involved on how you can't just say, I want him. Well, go back to what it took for these guys to get these people. And yeah, it's not all the same. There's 1,000 different ways to skin a cat. Aaron Rodgers, we always talk about him as we need to find our next Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers has been criminally underperforming in the postseason for as talented as he is. And he's a special player in this league that is magnificent and one of the best to ever throw the damn pigskin. He's got 1 Super Bowl. Peyton Manning has 2 Super Bowls. One of those came when he was 97 years old, and the defense carried him, just like the way the defense in Baltimore with Joe Flacco and the defense with San Francisco to go win that cold freezing game in Lambeau Field. So there's a billion ways to skin a cat. Yes, the most productive is to find yourself a special quarterback, but that's not the only way to. A lot of these teams with special quarterbacks also have a lot of great playmakers as well surrounding that, and there's a full team involved. The Green Bay Packers have a great quarterback and a great wide receiver, not a great special teams, and that ended up hurting them. Now it's easier to figure out special teams than it is to find the quarterback. I'm not downplaying the importance of the quarterback position. I just want to make it clear that if the Eagles cannot find these players that you want them to, because it's very difficult to do so, if you do run it back with Jalen Hurts, it's not wasting a year because there's more for this team to do. They are in a rebuild whether you like it or not. They're not supposed to be as good as the Bills. So if your takeaway was the Eagles are far away, shouldn't you have known that prior to the game happening? They're not even close to the same position right now, but that doesn't mean for a first-year season for where this organization is after changing the head coach and changing the quarterback position, it still doesn't mean that they're in a bad spot. You can't just demand instant results when something so massive is changing within your organization. It takes time. And then you say, well, Joe Burrow didn't need time. The elite of the elite. It's hard to get. It's hard to get. Cincinnati went through hell to get that. Hell to get that. There's a lot of different ways to go about things. All right? The Rams, they don't believe in first-round draft picks at all. At all. So they're just going to give away everyone to go get proven talent and try and mix that within their salary cap. Would I be okay with that? Sure. No doubt about it. If Howie Roseman wanted to do it. But here's my thing. If they win the Super Bowl and then the Eagles elected to try and do their method, you can't bitch and complain when they get Von Miller, Matthew Stafford, and if they go make a trade for Jalen Ramsey and all these pieces, and then they don't have anything in the future for first-round picks, you can't bitch and complain that, oh, he's so terrible, he's awful, he's absolutely the worst thing in the world. They have no draft picks. Some guys, some teams do it that way. Will that work? We will see. Maybe it will. Maybe the Rams will cash in on that method. Doesn't mean every team should do it that way, and you got to be in the right position to push that button and say, right now is the time. There's a timing aspect as well. You can't just do it randomly. It's methodical when you realize you feel your team is constructed at a reasonable level, and then you move on from Goff, you bring in Stafford, you get Von Miller. Now it's starting to make more sense on when it's go mode. The Eagles, they're starting to toy around with being closer to go mode, but I think they got one more offseason to go with some draft picks and some free agency money as long as they don't snag a quarterback. If they find Russell Wilson and they bring him into town, by all means, sign me up for it. I'm ready for it. Sign me on the dotted line. There were times where I questioned it, and then I realized as more and more time went on, and I fully studied and examined what the cases were and the pros and the cons, I'm here for it. If it takes 2 and it takes a secondary pick or something along those lines, sign me the hell up to go get that quarterback. I'm never against upgrading from Jalen Hurts, but I will say this. There is a disrespect level to Jalen, and to act as if Jalen Hurts' first year is Jalen Hurts forever is unfair. Andy Reid is way better now than he was when he left Philadelphia. He learned a lot in Kansas City. Josh Allen learned a lot for some failures in the postseason, and then 52 and 58% completion percentage. Totally different quarterback right now. There's a lot of different. Lamar Jackson, while he still has a ton to improve, he's different now than he was when he first came into the league, and it was just all about scrambles. There is more of an awareness to the pocket presence and things of that nature. So all of these quarterbacks, it takes time for them to grow, and he might be still capped out. And in my heart of hearts, I don't think he's going to have enough fully. I don't. With that said, I still have faith that he'll grow. And I was asked this on 1 to 10. 1 to 10. Where was I? 1 to 10. No, I wasn't asked this 1 to 10 at all. What the hell was I just about to say? I was asked about, well, yes, I was. 1 to 10, quarterback play. Top 10 quarterbacks in the league. Could he ever be? Where could I see him at his max? And I said 10, 11. And can you win a Super Bowl with 10, 11? Yeah, I think you could. I think you could win a Super Bowl with 10 or 11. There's better to get, though, but how hard is it to find that guy, and what could you justify doing to get one of those players? That's the question that is asked, and that's kind of where I'm at. And lastly, before we run into the anytime hotline calls here, or some text messages, I should say, I had Kevin Kincaid on 97.5 The Fanatic this weekend, and he mentioned the words, you probably will never be able to win a Super Bowl with Jalen Hurts. And then I said this, I don't know if that's fair, because Aaron Rodgers won once. Drew Brees won once. These quarterbacks that we hold as the end-all, be-all, and the level of quarterback we want here, they don't win. They do not win Super Bowls at the level that you think they do. Therefore, Jalen Hurts, I mean, you know what I mean? Like, oh, we need an Aaron Rodgers, we need this, we need that. You're right, it helps. It definitely helps. But you're acting as if these guys win Super Bowls 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 times. No, they fail a lot, because there's so much more to winning a Super Bowl. While that's the most important, there's way more involved in the team aspect than just that. So we rephrased it, and I think what we need to do as sports fans is ask, can your quarterback put you in a position to constantly win your division and put you in a playoff hunt where you're not the 7th seed and you have more of a realistic chance of winning some of these football games? And it's not, can he win you a Super Bowl? Because that question's unfair and totally unrealistic because of the percentage of actually doing it. So it's got to be more of, can your quarterback put you in playoff contention, and can you compete with the best teams in the league with your respected quarterback? That's the question we should ask. And if your answer is you see Jalen Hurts growing, but you still don't think he can get to that level, then fine. I agree with you. And then you got to find a way to either get that person now, but if he's not available, because they're not always available, then you got to build within your team to stopgap you with Jalen Hurts while still building your team for the long run, and then eventually getting to that respected player eventually. We're going to read some text messages here. Before we do, D. Simone Jewelers, my jewelers. I got my fiance's engagement ring from them, and it was the best decision of my life. They're a family-owned business located in Haddonfield, New Jersey, previously in Jewelers Row. Mike, Nick, Lou, and Will, they treat you like you are D. Simone the moment you walk into that door. They work with you to get the best design at the most reasonable price you will find in the market. Custom jewelry design, jewelry repairs, appraisals, watch repairs, battery replacement, and so much more. If you go in there and tell them that Broad sent you, they will hook you up like no other. There's a connection involved. They show you the difference in clarity. They teach you about what you're purchasing. It's such a great experience. Best I've ever had in terms of buying jewelry. DSimoneJewelers.com. That's their website. Once again, tell them that Broad sent you, and they will hook you up. All right, let's run with some anytime hotline text messages here. Troy says, Bros, can you honestly see Jalen Hurts firing off throws back and forth with those quarterbacks that we saw last night? I don't hate Jalen, and I understand if the team moves forward with him, because even I've said all along, I want to build the defense. We have to build the defense. We do not have enough talent on that side of the football. I can't get what I saw out of my head, though. It makes me wonder, ... I go back to, we're talking about Howie Roseman and Jeffrey Lurie. If you're fearful of Jalen Hurts, I wouldn't be, knowing the track record of these two individuals in place, right? We know what they do. We know what they're all about. We understand their logic and how much emphasis they put on the quarterback position. So regardless of what they say at the end of the year, they did that because that's their consolation prize. If we can acquire what we want, we have publicly stated how much we've bought into Jalen Hurts for a reason. Plus, that also helps with negotiations, and that's the best way to handle it. That is the most professional way to handle that spot. You don't want to be the Colts where you react too crazily, and now everybody knows where you stand with your quarterback, and you're upset with Carson Wentz, right? So they handled it fine, and if you are wondering, guess what? So is everyone else involved in the major decisions with the quarterback position with the Eagles. Howie Roseman and Lurie are having conversation every single damn day about a quarterback, even when they have their guy, even after they pay Carson Wentz, even with Donovan Donovan McNabb, this and that. They're looking for the backup that can step in. It's nonstop quarterback, 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 quarterback. So I think there's a lot of options you can go here, and I see the logic in a lot of these options. It just comes down to execution. Can they perfectly execute what we're looking for? And then, of course, a lot of people are screaming no because they don't trust the draft process, which you have to obviously look at what they've done and say there's a lot of misses, but then there's also the Dallas Goederts, the Jordan Mailatas, the Landon Dickersons, the Devontae Smiths. There's a lot of good, and there's a lot of Jalen Reagors and J.J. Arcega-Whiteside. So execution, I see a lot of good paths. 3 to be exact. Work with Jalen Hurts, give him another year, build your team out, trade some of these assets for next year, and try and see if you can slither through what you believe, maybe Ohio State, some of these quarterbacks for next year with some higher pop, or go trade for a quarterback right now, a veteran and a journeyman that is clearly in that upper echelon. I'm not anti any of those. I don't hate any of them. Can they pull it off, though, and do it while really helping your football team? Because it's not just get Russell Wilson and that's it. It's okay, what else is added to this roster? What else can we do? What else can we improve? There's a lot more to it. So execution matters for sure. But there's a lot of different areas that they can go here. And I'm not against any of them, really. William in Pine Hill. Now we have to see Jackson Mahomes more. That's amazing. I blame the Bills' defense. All kidding aside, I didn't leave my couch once this weekend. It was the most enjoying set of 4 games I can remember in my lifetime. The Eagles have a long way to go, and I'm not sure if they get there. Reevaluation time is a serious collection of thoughts. Who were we fooling thinking this team was a playoff team? See, I think that that's a little too extreme and a little too unfair. You got to remember within the circle of what the Eagles were supposed to be. They're coming off of 4 losses. They're coming off of firing their head coach. They were never supposed to be that. What you saw in the divisional round was not what the Eagles were ever supposed to be. And if you thought they were this season, now that's the goal. I think that's a good, obvious witness test to say, all right, that's the bar. That's where it is right now. That's what we have to get to. And it can't happen overnight. What are the proper steps we need to take to put ourselves in a position to get to that level of intensity? That's fine. I think that's fully something I can support, but not the whole, all right, now we have to compare all of this to that and expect that's what we were supposed to be this season. I didn't need to see that to tell me the Eagles are on a different level at 8-7 with their record and their playoff performance. We're not even close to Josh Allen. We're not even close to Andy Reid and Pat Mahomes. But doesn't that sit with you before the kickoff even occurs? And I'm not going to knock them for winning games against bad teams. That's what they're supposed to do. For their first year with all of this new identity, they win the games they should, although an ugly Giants loss, and every team has an ugly loss in their season. And then they lost to the teams they should have lost to. It's not a bad spot to be your first knock at it. It really isn't. Now it's about winning those games that they lost. How do they reach that level? Because now the expectations are a bit higher, the stakes are a bit higher, and we demand more this season because they had their full run at it. And they've experienced what they needed to experience. So we'll see how they grow and improve next year. Mark, all capitals. All right, this is all caps. Trade Jalen Hurts or bench him. I don't care. You need elite quarterback play. Aaron Rodgers losing is a product of special teams. You don't win a damn thing if you don't have an elite quarterback. I figured that was normally the normal reaction, right? But I think we have a false expectation on the quarterback. Fully. As an NFL fan base, as a football fan base, everyone, not Philadelphia, the entire world that are on their hands and knees praising these QBs that are in that upper echelon tier and the expectations of how many Super Bowls that results in. I truly believe we have this. We're brainwashed. We have this dream and this outrageous mirage of one quarterback like Tom Brady bringing you all this success. And in terms of actually holding the Lombardi trophy, where there's a lot more happening. It's definitely important. Let me be clear, it's important. But the track record shows all these great of the great of the great of the great of the greats, Peyton Manning, Aaron Rodgers. Go look at their track record and what it took for them to get their Super Bowl? And then on top of that, how many more underachieving seasons were there compared to the ultimate prize? And can you make the argument then, and I'll leave you with this, if it is that rare, then do anything in your power to get that guy to give you the best percentage? Because if Aaron Rodgers gives you a 1% and Jalen Hurts gives you a 0.5, then you need that extra 0.5 because it's that much more valuable to get to the 1. It's interesting. I think it needs a lot more dialogue, though. And maybe it's something that we can continue moving forward with as time progresses. With that, I want to thank everybody so much for hanging out with me today on this episode of Sports Talk with Broads, and I will see you next time.